Most of our stories follow the same rhythm. For decades, you wake up, you go to work, and you contribute to a future that always feels just out of reach. You watch your bank account balance, hoping that by the time you decide to hang up the keys for good, the numbers will be enough. But here is a truth that most financial advisors are too polite to tell you. Quality of life in retirement is not built on guesswork. It is built on a cold, hard analysis of reality. As we move through 2026, the economic landscape has shifted beneath our feet. Inflation is no longer a distant headline. It is a permanent guest at your dinner table. And yet, millions of Americans are walking toward the exit of the workforce with a blindfold on. Today, we are going to pull that blindfold off. We are going to look at the real numbers, the data-backed facts from the Federal Reserve, and the psychological traps that keep good people from having the security they deserve. Let us start with the number that most people think is a milestone, but is actually a warning sign: $200,000. According to the most recent data from the Federal Reserve, the median household retirement savings for those approaching age 62 sits right around $200,000. To many, that sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like a mountain of cash that should be able to support a quiet, modest life. But when you subject that number to the laws of mathematics, the illusion begins to crumble. Financial experts often point to the 4% rule as a safe way to draw income without running out of money. If you apply that rule to a portfolio of $200,000, you are looking at an annual income of $8,000. Let that sink in for a moment. $8,000 per year. That breaks down to exactly $666 per month. In 2026, $666 is less than the average monthly payment for a new car. It is often less than the cost of groceries for a family of two. It certainly does not cover property taxes, insurance, or the rising costs of energy. If this is the average, then the average retiree is not heading toward a golden age of travel and relaxation. They are heading toward a decade of extreme survival. And this is where the pain truly begins to set in. You have worked for 40 years, paying your dues and following the rules, only to realize the finish line has been moved. The frustration is real, and if you feel it, you are not alone. Most people get stuck in a cycle where they prioritize today over tomorrow because their brain is wired for instant gratification. In psychology, we call this present bias. Your brain values a nice dinner or a new gadget today far more than it values a comfortable life 10 years from now. But the reality of 2026 is that tomorrow arrives much faster than we think. One of the biggest traps for those in their 50s and 60s is the idea of home equity. Many people look at their net worth and feel a sense of pride. They see a house that has doubled in value over the last decade. They see $400,000 or $500,000 in equity and think they are wealthy. But there is a fundamental difference between being wealthy on paper and being secure in life. You cannot go to the grocery store and pay with a piece of your kitchen cabinet. You cannot pay your electric bill by handing over a handful of drywall. Unless you are willing to sell your home, downsize, or take on the risks of a reverse mortgage, that equity is a dead asset. It provides a roof over your head, but it does not put bread on the table. This leads to a phenomenon we see all too often. The house rich and cash poor retiree, they live in a beautiful home, but they are terrified every time the phone rings because it might be a bill they cannot afford. They skip doctor visits because the CO pay feels like a luxury. This is the hidden crisis of the middle class. And while we are talking about medical costs, we have to look at the numbers that most people ignore. Fidelity recently estimated that a typical couple retiring at age 65 will need over $300,000 just to cover healthcare expenses throughout their retirement. If your total savings is $200,000, you are already starting with a $100,000 deficit before you even buy your first gallon of milk. This is the raw truth that the commercials for retirement funds never show you. They show happy couples walking on the beach, not sitting at a kitchen table, wondering if they can afford their heart medication. But do not let this information paralyze you. The reason we analyze the pain is so we can find the exit. Knowledge is the only thing that can turn a crisis into a strategy. If you find yourself in this position, or if you are worried about hitting these numbers, there are levers you can pull to change the outcome. The first and most powerful lever is the strategy of delay. Many people rush to claim Social Security at age 62 because they are tired of working. They want the check now. But claiming at 62 means accepting a permanent reduction in your benefits. In 2026, the math for delaying is more compelling than ever. For every year you wait beyond your full retirement age, up to age 70, your benefit increases by 8%. That is a guaranteed 8% return on your future income. There is no investment in the stock market, no bond, and no real estate deal that can guarantee a consistent 8% increase every single year with zero risk. By waiting from age 62 to age 70, you can nearly double your monthly income for the rest of your life. This is how you turn a survival budget into a comfortable life. But how do you survive those years in between? This is where we have to talk about the bridge strategy. Retirement does not have to be an all or nothing decision. The old model was that you work 40 hours a week until a certain Friday, and then you never work again. In the modern world, that model is broken. A bridge job, something part-time or freelance that you actually enjoy, can cover your basic living expenses while you let your investments grow. If you have $200,000 and you leave it alone for 5 to 7 years without touching it, the power of compound interest goes to work. At a standard market return, that money could grow to over $300,000 or even $400,000 by the time you actually start withdrawing. You are essentially hiring your money to work a double shift while you take it easy. Another critical factor is managing what we call ego spending. Society spent billions of dollars trying to convince you that your worth is tied to what you own. They want you to buy the new luxury SUV to impress neighbors you do not even like. They want you to have the biggest house on the block even when the rooms are empty. But true financial freedom is not about having the most. It is about needing the least. When you reduce your fixed expenses, you lower the hurdle your savings must jump over. Every $100 you cut from your monthly budget is $30,000. You do not need to have saved in your portfolio. This is the math of empowerment. It gives you the control back. We also have to address the people who say it is too late. If you are 55 and you have nothing, you might feel like the game is over. But the IRS provides a special tool for people exactly like you. It is called the catch-up contribution. Once you pass age 50, you are allowed to put extra money into your 401k and your individual retirement accounts. This is the government acknowledging that life happens and giving you a chance to sprint toward the finish line. If you can find a way to maximize these contributions for the last 10 years of your career, you can build a significant cushion in a very short amount of time. It requires discipline, and it requires a shift in your identity. You have to stop being a consumer and start being a strategist. The most successful retirees I know are not the ones who earned the highest salaries. They are the ones who understood the relationship between time and consistency. They understood that the first $100,000 is the hardest to save because your money is not doing much of the work yet. But once you cross that threshold, the momentum begins to shift. At $200,000, your portfolio is starting to become a machine. If it grows by 10% in a good year, that is $20,000 in growth. That is more than many people contribute in an entire year. This is the tipping point where your money starts earning more than you do. And that is a beautiful moment to reach. But to get there, you have to survive the boring years. You have to ignore the noise of the media and the fluctuations of the market. You have to trust the math of the S&P 500 index. Historically, the market has always moved upward over long periods of time. Your job is not to predict the future. Your job is to stay in the game long enough to benefit from it. As we look toward the rest of 2026, there will be more headlines about economic uncertainty. There will be more reports about the state of Social Security and the rising cost of living. But remember this, the average person is not you. The average person does not take the time to analyze their situation and build a plan. By seeking out this information, you have already moved yourself into a different category. You are no longer a victim of the numbers. You are the architect of them. Whether you have $50,000 or $500,000, the principles remain the same. Audit your expenses, maximize your contributions, and most importantly, understand your why. Why do you want to retire? Is it for peace of mind? Is it to spend time with your grandchildren? Is it to pursue a passion you put on hold for 30 years? When your why is strong enough, the sacrifices you make today do not feel like punishments. They feel like investments in the person you are becoming. Retirement is not an age. It is not a day on the calendar. It is a state of financial independence where work becomes a choice rather than a requirement. Do not let the averages define your future. Take the data, look at it clearly, and decide today that you will not be a statistic. You will be the exception. The road may be long, and the math may be challenging, but the reward is a life lived on your own terms. And that is something worth fighting for. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you found value in this deep dive into the reality of our current financial world, I encourage you to share your thoughts. What is your biggest concern about retirement in 2026? Let us start a conversation in the comments and help each other navigate this path. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and remember that your future self is counting on you. I will see you in the next analysis.